Recording. These are the top 100, these are top 1,000 IQ plays in history. These are top 1,000 IQ plays. Dude, it's one sentence. You can't memorize one sentence? Well, you know it's pretty hard with the camera pointing right in front of your phone. Ah! Now, I'm not confident on the accuracy of this story, but it's a pretty crazy story nonetheless, so I'm just gonna say it for shits and giggles. Apparently in 1588, a British guy blew up a huge cork factory in order to delay Spain's invasion of England. Now, why did this delay the invasion? Well, because the Spanish Armada needed corks for their water barrels, and without clean, sealed water, they had no choice but to sit back and make more corks. You know that old myth about carrots improving your eyesight? Well, in World War II, the British government sold that myth to Nazis. Why? Because the British had developed advanced airborne radar that they wanted to keep secret from the Nazis. They wanted the Germans to believe that a diet of carrots was what gave British pilots superhuman vision. Not only that, but they even created a whole propaganda campaign with posters and testimonials, all stating that carrots were key to the Royal Air Force's accuracy and effectiveness. Hey, what's up, Hans? Carrot? Thanks. What are you doing? It's like alcohol, you know? Like, things are way better when you take out the butt. Does it hurt? Yeah, if you're not used to it. Teach me. In 1805, France was at war with Austria, and Napoleon's army had to find a way to cross the heavily guarded Danube River. The thing is, the only available bridge in that river was rigged with explosives, and the Austrian soldiers were ready to blow it all up at a moment's notice. Being heavily outnumbered, the French needed to come up with a plan to safely cross the bridge. Napoleon's generals devised a ridiculous plan that actually turned out to be brilliant. Two high-ranking French officers, Officer Murat and Officer Lannes, were smiling as they approached the bridge, informing the Austrians that the truce had just been signed. Wait, why are they smiling? I don't know, but it kind of makes me want to smile. Huh? They're enemies, bro. Hola, amigos! Oh, hey, that's Chinese, not French, you dumbass. Shalom! The Austrians were not convinced and even held it to at gunpoint. However, the officers remained nonchalant and simply walked across the bridge, followed behind by the French soldiers who also acted friendly. As they crossed the bridge, Lannes noticed an Austrian sergeant trying to ignite a fuse to detonate the explosives. Lannes quickly intervened and informed the sergeant that it would be considered a war crime to blow up the bridge, considering that a truce had just been signed. Murat, who was the other officer, then started gently pushing the Austrian out of the way, making him walk backwards away from the fuse. Nearby, an Austrian artillery force was preparing to fire at the bridge, but Lannes prevented them from firing as well. He even sat on one of the cannons and enjoyed a smoke while the tense situation unfolded. Amidst the chaos, an angry Austrian soldier accused the French officers of lying, prompting Murat to demand that the Austrian higher-ups take action against their loud and insubordinate soldier. Humiliated, the higher-ups actually listened and they arrested the guy, who was right the whole time, by the way. Ultimately, the French were successful in overtaking the bridge, as the Austrians essentially handed it over to them. The clever plan devised by Napoleon's generals, along with the quick thinking and calm demeanor of Murat and Lannes, allowed the French to triumph in a seemingly impossible situation. This next story takes place during the Prague Spring. If you don't know what the Prague Spring is, don't worry, you're not alone. Basically, it was a period of political liberalization in Czechoslovakia in 1968. The reforms introduced during this time were not well received by the Soviet Union, who feared a loss of control over the Eastern Bloc countries. And we all know how much the Soviets loved control. Hey Stalin, can we please have more rights? What'd he say? I think that was a non-verbal no. At least he tried. Yeah, at least he tried. So on August 20, 1968, the Soviet Union invaded Czechoslovakia with a force of around 200,000 troops. Now, the Czech people were not thrilled about this invasion. They wanted to resist the Soviet presence in any way they could, and they came up with a sneaky plan. They took down all road signs, renamed all the cities to Dubček, and provided the Soviet troops with all the wrong directions. Just imagine being a Soviet soldier during all this. Hey fellas, what town is this? This is Dubček. Oh, that's odd, it's not on the map. Oh yeah, it's a very small town. Oh, so which way to Prague? Oh, just travel east, you can't miss it. Oh goodness, oh. Hey folks, what town is this? This is Dubček. Oh no, we were just in Dubček. No, that was East Dubček. This is West Dubček. West side, bitch! Oh golly gee, so where's Prague? Just go west, you can't miss it. Where the freak is Prague? This is Dubček, motherfucker! The Czech people had the Soviet army marching around the countryside for 3 entire days trying to find Prague. Those 3 days bought the Czech people enough time to effectively set up defenses around the city in order to resist the Soviet army. Here's another World War II story. In the Pacific Theater, a Japanese submarine called Row 105 was being hunted by 2 American warships. Row 105 was basically a real-life anime protagonist. The crew of the submarine pulled out every trick in the book to avoid being sunk, counterpinning the American ship's sonar to disorient them, creating strong wakes to throw off enemy attacks, etc. Through the use of all these measures, Row 105 managed to evade dozens of enemy attacks over the course of over 24 hours. However, the submarine's oxygen and battery levels were running low, and the only way to replenish them was to resurface for an extended period of time. Knowing this, Row 105 made a gamble and pulled off the genius move of resurfacing right in between the 2 American warships. With the submarine right in the middle of the warships, the Americans couldn't attack without risking friendly fire. 5 minutes into this awkward standoff, the warships finally started to maneuver around the submarine in order to create a safe angle of attack. Knowing that the jig was up, Row 105 dove back into the ocean with its oxygen and battery partially replenished, enabling the crew to evade the warship for a few more hours. The Americans grew very frustrated at the skilled submarine crew and decided to bring out their ace, the USS England, a legendary warship that sank the most submarines in history. The anime antagonist.
Who the fuck are you?
The USS England spotted the submarine and fired a barrage of 24 Hedgehog mortars all at once, which finally sunk the legendary Row 105. The Battle of Alesia took place in 52 BC and is widely regarded as one of the greatest siege battles of all time. Alesia was a Gallic city in which Why is speaking so difficult? Alesia was a Gallic city in which Vercingetorix, the leader of the Gauls, was located. The Gauls set up defenses within the city and waited for outside reinforcements. When Caesar's Roman army arrived to invade Alesia, they faced a daunting challenge as they were heavily outnumbered by the fortified Gauls. Not only that, but Caesar knew that he was deep in enemy territory and could be flanked at any moment by the outside reinforcements. With all this in mind, Caesar made his own fort by constructing walls around his army, which surrounded Alesia and created a perimeter around the city. The inner walls he built around Alesia cut off any chance of potential escape. In addition, Caesar made another set of walls outside of his inner walls, so that his army would be situated right in between, protected from both the inside and the outside. Of course, Vercingetorix sent out raiding parties to attack the wall builders, but they were repelled. Eventually, the Gallic leader's outside reinforcements arrived, outnumbering Caesar by 3-1. Initially, the outside reinforcements made a few scattered attacks, but after each one failed, they finally decided to attack the outer wall from all sides simultaneously, spreading the Roman army thin. Seeing the preoccupied and thinned out Roman army, the inside forces spread out and attacked all sides of the inside wall, surrounding Caesar's army from both inside and out. Eventually, the outside reinforcements managed to breach the outer wall, pouring in. In response, Caesar rallied 6,500 men and formed a massive human shield wall to plug the breached area, kinda like Attack on Titan. Reaching his army's limits, Caesar made the last-ditch effort to send his cavalry at the walls and pick off the outside reinforcements from behind. This was successful as it caused panic within the outside army, resulting in many fleeing from the battle. This allowed Caesar to put most of his focus on the inside forces, who all surrendered the next day. Despite being heavily outnumbered and facing a daunting challenge, Caesar's quick thinking and strategic planning proved to be the key to his success in this battle. The following story of Alcibiades is the craziest one yet. I might even do a dedicated video on this guy in the future. No, you won't. Why are you so— You are a lazy, scatterbrained, and directionless man who should really get tested for ADHD. I don't have ADHD. Guess who I am? All this you're doing? That's also a sign of ADHD! Alcibiades was a very charismatic Athenian politician and general. In 415 BC, Athens' ally, Segesta, was fighting with Syracuse in Sicily. When Segesta asked the Athenian assembly for help, Alcibiades stood up and said, "Why don't I just conquer all of Sicily while we're at it?" Athens then wrangled up the biggest naval armada in the world at the time, rallying 200 ships and 30,000 soldiers for the expedition to Sicily. However, the night before the invasion, something strange happened. The Herm sculptures in Athens had their dicks broken off. Now for context, Herm sculptures are basically tall, minimalist blocks of stone with the head and a set of dick and balls. These sculptures were meant to give good luck to sailors, so it was odd that their, dicks got broken off right before the Armada's voyage to Sicily. Somehow, Alcibiades got accused of being responsible for defacing these statues and was ordered to return to Athens to face trial. Thing is, he was already well on his way to Sicily. When additional ships came to escort him back to Athens, Alcibiades made a run for it and escaped to Sparta, which was Athens' biggest rival. Upon reaching Sparta, he managed to convince the Spartans to send an expedition to Sicily in order to repel the Athenian armada. With the help of Alcibiades' insider knowledge of Athens, Sparta managed to destroy the entire invading Athenian armada, destroying every ship and killing or capturing all of the Athenian soldiers in Sicily. After this battle, Alcibiades earned the respect of the king of Sparta, providing further assistance and intelligence to the king for another few years. During these years, Alcibiades convinced the Spartans to build a permanent fort at Alesia, which was a village just 10 miles from Athens. This move was made to weaken Athens by cutting off its crops and valuable land supplies like silver. This destroyed the neighboring Athenian population's quality of life, which Alcibiades took advantage of by traveling to several critical cities and convincing them to revolt, planting the seeds of discourse to advance his overarching master plan. However, despite all of Alcibiades' contributions for the Spartans, he eventually had to flee Sparta after the king's son was born. Because the son looked a lot like Alcibiades. Hey, why does her son look like Alcibiades? It's pronounced Alcibiades, okay? He fucking went soft to me when he mispronounced. I'm better in bed, right? Alcibiades then briefly moved to Persia and befriended the local Persian governor. He convinced the governor to finance the Spartan navy, which would challenge Athens at sea. However, he also convinced the guy to delay payments to the Spartans, which will limit their ability to build a fully capable navy. This would result in weakness from both sides, with the Spartans having an underfunded navy and the Athenians ravished with inner turmoil due to the seeds of discourse that Alcibiades planted earlier. The destabilization and chaos generated by all of this created a perfect opening for Alcibiades to jump in. With Athens in relative shambles, Alcibiades traveled back to his hometown in order to cause more chaos by stirring up the oligarchic sympathizers who opposed the current democratic government. With Alcibiades' support, they were able to briefly overthrow the democracy, causing a civil war within Athens. This civil war caused even further mayhem, and the oligarchs began executing a bunch of people, much to the disapproval of the Athenian navy. So what happened next? Well, the navy actually re-recruited Alcibiades and put him in command due to his past military success and expertise. With the power of the navy, Alcibiades did three things. First, he overthrew the oligarchy, which he helped bring to power in the first place. Second, he defeated the weak Spartan navy, which he also preemptively sabotaged by pulling financial strings. And third and finally, he brought democracy back to Athens, which he took away in the first place. This redeemed Alcibiades from a traitor who sold out his own people to a hero who saved his own people from themselves as well as from the outside invaders. In summary, this guy managed to f*** over his own people by playing for the other team, f*** over the other team by f***ing the team captain's wife, joined a third team briefly to f*** over the first two teams, then went back to f***ing with his home team until they liked him again in some weird Stockholm Syndrome hoodwink sort of way. There you have it. This is part 1 of 1000 Accuplays in History. Bye.